Good evening, and welcome to Late Night Science. Wherever you are, lying beneath a quiet ceiling, drifting under the stars, or letting the city hum fade into the background, this is your space to slow down, breathe, and wander through the vast, invisible architecture that holds everything together. Take a moment to settle in. Feel the air touch your skin, the steady rhythm of your breath, the simple wonder of being here. Tonight, we begin a journey into something that's everywhere, and yet no one has ever truly seen. Everything you see, every second, every breath, floats on a fabric you can't touch. But what if something beneath it is touching you, shaping every moment you live without you ever knowing? If you're listening right now, tell me, where in the world are you? Maybe you're beneath a dark sky, maybe in a glowing room, or maybe somewhere in between. I'd love to know where this quiet curiosity finds you tonight. And if this calm corner of wonder feels like a place you'd like to return to, you can gently tap like or subscribe. Not as a demand, but as a small ripple, a quiet way of saying yes. I'm here. Keep going. Now close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a silence older than sound, a stillness so deep, so absolute that it wasn't empty. It was full of potential. There were no stars, no atoms, not even space to hold them. No time to measure waiting. Just a kind of infinite pause. A breath before breathing existed. Scientists call it the beginning, but beginnings are tricky things, aren't they? They suggest something before and after, but what if there was no before, no after, only this? A single, motionless awareness that somehow decided to move. In that unimaginable stillness, something changed. It didn't explode in noise, as our imagination loves to picture, but expanded, quietly, inevitably. Space stretched. Time began to tick. And that first motion, that first ripple of becoming, would one day unfold into galaxies, worlds, oceans, you, and this very moment of listening. You can almost feel it now if you let your mind drift. That subtle hum beneath everything, the pulse of existence itself. The fabric we call space-time isn't just an abstract grid or a line on a scientist's board. It's the gentle, continuous breath of the universe. Every second that passes, every particle that spins, every heartbeat that rises, all of it moving within the same invisible current. But here's the strange part. We move through this fabric as if it's nothing, never feeling it, never sensing its pull. Yet it's what defines everything we can feel. It decides how we fall, how we age, how light itself travels. It carries our memories forward through time. And still it remains untouchable, silent, always underneath. Think about that for a moment. The chair you sit on, the moon that tugs at the tides, the light that touches your eyes. All of it floats, not in space, but as space. What we call emptiness is actually a kind of fullness, a woven tapestry of possibility, stretching, bending, curving, carrying. The universe doesn't just exist inside space-time. The universe is space-time, endlessly folding itself into new patterns of being, and yet something about that stillness remains. Beneath all the motion, beneath the dance of expansion and decay, there's a quiet rhythm, a reminder that movement itself was born from silence. Even now, in the background hum of reality, there's a kind of cosmic breath, a pulse between being and not being. Some physicists call it symmetry breaking, the moment the universe chose a direction. But perhaps it's more than that. Perhaps it's the story of balance, learning to move, perfection, learning to express itself through imperfection. If you've ever watched the ocean when the wind stops, that eerie calm when every wave freezes in place, suspended, you might sense what that first stillness was like. A surface so smooth that even reflection loses meaning. Then, somewhere within it, a tremor, a thought, a choice, a motion that becomes time. And that's the mystery we live inside, a universe that's both moving and still. expansion and silence intertwined. Every second that passes carries the echo of that first awakening. You might think of time as a river, but perhaps it's more like a heartbeat, pulsing from a center we can't see. And if we listen quietly enough, maybe we can feel it. The slow throb of space-time expanding, breathing us into existence. But here's the paradox. If everything is moving, what does stillness even mean? Could it be that stillness isn't the absence of motion, but the awareness that holds all motion within it? The fabric beneath the dance? Some spiritual traditions call it consciousness. Physics calls it the geometry of the universe. But in both, there's the same whisper, that what moves and what does not are not separate things. They are the same song in two different notes. You right now are part of that song. The atoms in your skin were once drifting in stars, the space between them shaped by that same unseen fabric. Even your thoughts, flickering, floating, move within space-time's flow. You are not just in the universe, you are made of its unfolding. You are a ripple in that ancient stillness, remembering itself. So when we ask, what hides beneath the fabric of space-time? Maybe the question is gentler than it seems. Maybe it's not about what's beneath, but what's within. A quiet intelligence, a pattern of awareness, a symmetry that never truly broke, only began to dance. Some physicists search for the equation that unites everything, the theory of everything. But perhaps the true unity isn't written in symbols or measured in units. Perhaps it's felt in that simple awe you feel when you look at the stars and realize they're looking back through the same space-time that carries your gaze. And so we drift in this thought, somewhere between silence and movement, between knowing and not knowing. Beneath all the noise of galaxies, there's a hush, a presence untouched by time, waiting, watching. And maybe, just maybe, that stillness is what moves everything. As you lie there, listening, breathing, part of this same invisible rhythm, ask yourself softly, if stillness can give birth to motion, what might your own silence be waiting to create? Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself standing in a vast, weightless expanse, a place without ground or sky, where everything seems to shimmer like silk in a slow, endless motion. This is not space as we usually picture it, dark and empty, but something alive, breathing, softly quivering with invisible threads. You are not outside it, you are woven into it. Every thought, every heartbeat, every star is a strand in this infinite tapestry. The universe is not just around you, it is you. Physicists call it space-time. A single, unified fabric where space and time are no longer separate things. It's easy to imagine space as the stage where the universe performs and time as the ticking clock that moves the scenes along. But Einstein showed us something far more intimate. The stage and the clock are one and the same. The floor you walk, on the moment you breathe, the stars that shine, all are woven together in a single sheet of existence. Now imagine that sheet stretching, curving, rippling when something massive, a star, a planet, even you, moves through it. It bends the weave around it, changing how everything else moves in return. What we feel as gravity is not a force pulling us down. It's the fabric itself gently folding beneath our feet. You are not being dragged to the ground. You are following the curve of reality itself. But if space-time is a fabric, then who or what is the weaver? What loom could spin existence into being? The question reaches beyond science and into something older than any equation, a longing to understand why the universe is not chaos, but pattern. Why the laws of physics hold together with such delicate precision as though some unseen hands were ensuring the threads never tangled too much. Perhaps you can picture it, the universe as an infinite loom, humming quietly in the dark. Galaxies swirl like golden threads, stars burn as tiny knots of light, and black holes appear as the tight, secret tangles where the pattern folds in on itself. Every atom vibrates in tune with every other, connected by the same invisible web. There is no outside to this weaving. Every cause, every effect, every passing moment is another stitch. And yet, for all its beauty, the loom hides its own mystery. Physics can describe the fabric, the equations, the geometry, the behavior of curves and fields, but it doesn't explain why it exists at all. We can measure how time dilates near a black hole, how light bends across galaxies, how space stretches as the universe expands. But we still don't know what the fabric is. Is it energy? Is it information? Is it consciousness taking shape through the act of being aware? Some scientists describe spacetime as emergent, meaning it's not fundamental, but something that rises out of deeper, unseen rules, like threads appearing from beneath the loom, woven from bits of quantum information so small we can't yet grasp them. In that view, reality isn't built on spacetime. Spacetime is built from something else. Perhaps we are only seeing the shadow of a truer structure, a kind of quantum embroidery where every stitch is both matter and meaning. You might imagine the fabric glowing faintly with memory, every wave of light, every passing particle leaving behind a trace. The universe remembers itself in patterns of movement. The present moment, as you experience it, is the current knot, being tied on the loom, one that connects the long threads of the past to the ones not yet woven. The future is already there, somewhere in the roll of the fabric, waiting for the shuttle of time to reach it. And if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with that deeper part of you that senses wonder, you might hear the rhythm of the loom itself, the slow turning of the cosmic wheel, each rotation another epoch, another unfolding of form. What we call laws, gravity, motion, relativity, might just be the patterns the loom repeats, the rhythm that keeps the universe from unraveling. Think of how a spider spins its web, each strand both fragile and strong, each junction holding tension with exquisite balance. The universe may be much the same, a self-weaving organism, growing its own framework as it expands. There's no single spider, no separate weaver. The act of weaving and the web itself are one. Maybe that's the secret. There is no hand outside the loom, no distant creator watching. The loom weaves itself endlessly, eternally, from its own stillness into its own motion, and yet even that self-weaving raises another mystery. How does the loom know what to weave? Why does it produce galaxies and not chaos, minds and not mere machinery? Is there a design, or is design simply what order looks like when chaos slows down enough to be understood? You might think of your own life as a smaller version of the same process. Each decision, each heartbeat, each quiet thought, another stitch in the personal fabric of your existence. You are a miniature loom, creating reality as you move through it, shaping the weave not just by action, but by observation. Every time you notice the world, you help define it. Every time you love, you strengthen the threads. Every time you forget, they fade, but they never disappear completely. Somewhere out there, perhaps in the cold silence between stars, the universe continues to weave. Space stretches, time flows, light spins across the darkness like shimmering thread. And maybe, somewhere beyond the visible, the loom itself hums softly. Neither machine nor mind, but something in between. A song without a singer, a pattern without a plan. A mystery that continues to make itself known by never fully revealing itself. You can almost feel it now, can't you? That subtle vibration beneath everything, the gentle tension of existence holding itself together. It's in the way galaxies spiral, in the way your breath meets the air, in the way one moment folds into the next. The fabric moves and you move with it. There is no separation between the weaver and the woven, only the continuous dance of creation. And so, as the night deepens, and the stars above whisper across the dark, we are left with the quietest question of all. If reality is a loom, endlessly weaving itself into being, who is it weaving for? If you let go of something, stone, a leaf, a quiet thought, it falls. Such a simple act that we rarely question it. Falling feels like the most natural thing in the world, as though the universe itself gently guides things back to where they belong. But what if falling isn't about being pulled down at all? What if it's about following the shape of reality itself? The invisible curve beneath your feet, the hidden hand that bends the world without ever touching it. Einstein once imagined himself in free fall, not as a philosopher gazing up at the stars, but as a man drifting weightless beside them. In that moment of thought, he realized something profound, that gravity was not a force, but a geometry. Not a tug between masses, but the natural motion of things along a curved fabric. Spacetime, flexing and folding around everything that exists. It was an idea so simple and yet so strange that it changed how we see the universe forever. Imagine again that great cosmic fabric we spoke of. A vast, invisible surface stretching in all directions. Place a star upon it and the surface bends. Roll a planet nearby and it spirals inward, not because the star calls it closer, but because the surface itself guides its path. Gravity, then, is not an external force. It's the music of space itself, the rhythm of the fabric as it responds to what lies within it. The more massive something is, the deeper it presses into the song, shaping how time and light must flow around it. You feel this, even now. Every step you take, every breath you draw, unfolds in a curved world. The space around you is not flat, though it feels that way. Time, too, is bent ever so slightly by the earth beneath you, slowing your moments by the tiniest fraction. You are living in a subtle gravitational dream, unaware that even your heartbeat ticks differently depending on the curve you inhabit. And yet, what makes the fabric bend at all? Einstein's equations tell us how that matter and energy shape spacetime, and spacetime tells matter how to move, but not why. The deeper we look, the more it feels as though something unseen is at play. Gravity is silent, invisible, untouchable. You can block light, you can trap sound, but you can never hide from gravity. It reaches through everything. Through walls, through planets, through time itself. Somewhere within that persistence lies a question that even the most elegant mathematics cannot quiet. Why does the universe choose this way of holding itself together? Why does existence rely on curvature, not force, not distance, but shape, to create balance? Perhaps gravity is the universe's way of remembering itself, ensuring that what drifts apart will someday find a way home again. When we gaze at the stars, we see gravity at work on a grand scale. The delicate spirals of galaxies, the slow orbits of moons, the collapsing cores of dying suns. But gravity is also a sculptor, a patient artist, carving the cosmos with invisible hands. It shapes the path of light, bending it into luminous arcs called gravitational lenses, places where the distant becomes visible through the warping of space itself. In those shimmering distortions, we glimpse the invisible, galaxies that should be hidden, dark matter that reveals itself only through the way it bends the world around it. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that everything you see is shaped by something you cannot see at all. Every curve of the earth, every orbit of a planet, every whisper of time. all born from an unseen architecture that never stops moving, never stops holding, never stops connecting. Even black holes, those mysterious abysses where space-time folds so tightly that not even light can escape, are simply the final expression of gravity's devotion. They are places where geometry becomes music too deep for our instruments to hear. But maybe, beneath that depth, gravity is more than geometry. Maybe it is relationship, the endless reaching of one thing toward another. Every atom in your body pulls on every atom in the stars. The pull is faint, almost nothing, but it's there, a soft tether tying you to everything that has ever existed. You are being held, not metaphorically, but literally, by the rest of the universe. Sometimes I like to think of gravity as the universe's quiet empathy, its way of ensuring that nothing drifts too far alone. Every particle feels the presence of every other, whispering, "I know you're there. Stay close." It's not a force of dominance, but of belonging. Even the smallest grain of dust feels its place in the cosmic web, tugged gently toward everything else. And yet, for all its intimacy, gravity hides its own origin. We have no quantum theory of it. We cannot describe it as neatly as the other forces. It remains a shadow on the edge of understanding, a soft hand moving beneath the loom, unseen but essential. Every attempt to unify it with the quantum world fails, as if gravity prefers to keep its secrets just beyond our reach. Perhaps it resists our equations because it's not merely a property of matter, but a property of awareness itself, the connective tissue between everything that is. You can feel that connection now if you let yourself. The way your body rests on the bed, the subtle weight pressing down. That's gravity in its gentlest form. But it's also the same hand that binds galaxies into clusters, that draws black holes toward collision, that folds the entire cosmos into a grand, moving sculpture of time. The stillness that moves everything has taken on shape. The invisible hand that guides the dance. And when you stand still, you are not truly still. You are falling, always falling, along a curve of space-time that never ends. The Earth falls around the sun around the galaxy around something greater still. Everything is falling together endlessly in an exquisite choreography that feels like balance. That is gravity's hidden grace, motion without effort, attraction without contact, love without possession. So as you drift deeper into this night, remember, gravity is not a force pulling you down, but a gentle reminder that you belong to the whole. You are part of the curvature itself, another thread in the geometry of being. You fall not because the Earth calls you, but because the universe is shaped to bring you home. And somewhere, beyond the curve, beyond the known equations and elegant metaphors, the hidden hand continues to shape the geometry of existence, weaving the next ripple, the next orbit, the next heartbeat. If the universe bends for everything that has mass, then what kind of gravity might exist for everything that has meaning? If you listen closely enough, not with your ears, but with that quiet part of the mind that knows how to feel stillness, you might hear something faint moving through the dark. It's not sound in the way we understand it. It doesn't travel through air or water. It moves through existence itself, through the very weave of space-time. Gentle waves, older than memory, still gliding through the universe, whispering the stories of everything that ever collided, collapsed, or began again. These are gravitational waves, the faintest ripples in reality's fabric, the universe's own heartbeat echoing across eternity. They are not light, not matter, not energy in any ordinary sense. They are motion in the architecture of existence, tremors that remind us that space-time is not a still canvas, but a living, breathing ocean. When black holes collide, or stars collapse in their final, luminous breaths, space-time shudders, and that shudder travels forever. Einstein predicted these waves a century ago, imagining the cosmos as an endless sea of geometry, where the most violent events would send ripples outward like stones cast into a still pond. But he never expected we'd hear them. The waves were too delicate, too subtle. By the time they reached us, they would stretch and compress the Earth by less than the width of a proton. And yet, 100 years later, humanity built instruments sensitive enough to hear space-time itself speak. In 2015, the first whisper arrived. 2 black holes, each 30 times the mass of the Sun, had spiraled together 1 billion years ago, and at last their final cry reached us. For a fraction of a second, the universe trembled. The detectors on Earth vibrated ever so slightly, translating the shiver of space-time into sound. What we heard wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a soft chirp, rising and fading, like the universe sighing in relief. And in that simple tone, 1,000 years of theory became truth. It's strange to think that when you hear that faint chirp, you are listening not to an object but to a movement, the echo of an event that reshaped reality itself. Those waves are space-time remembering something that happened long before Earth existed, still carrying that memory forward, like music that refuses to end. The universe doesn't just expand, remembers through motion, each ripple a page in its invisible diary. You might imagine space-time as an immense black ocean, smooth and silent, yet endlessly deep. When stars die or galaxies merge, they do not simply vanish. They send their stories outward forever, in ripples that grow fainter but never truly fade. Somewhere, even now, waves from the birth of the first stars are still traveling, passing through your body, your breath, this very moment, too subtle to feel, yet always there. You are, in a quiet way, being brushed by the history of everything. Think of how we measure sound on Earth. Vibrations in air that tell us who is near, what is moving, what is alive. Now imagine a sound that vibrates not air, but the stage upon which air, stars, and life exist. To hear gravitational waves is to hear the universe's structure vibrate, as though reality itself hums softly to remind us it's alive. Every collision, every merging, every collapse is part of this grand, cosmic symphony, and for the first time, we've learned to listen. When the LIGO detectors in the United States and Virgo in Europe caught these waves, humanity's perspective shifted. We were no longer limited to what we could see. We had opened our senses to what we could feel. It's as if we had always lived beside a great ocean, but never realized the water was moving. Now with gravitational waves, we hear the tides. But beyond the physics lies something even deeper. Each ripple is not just data, it is remembrance. The universe, through these waves, seems to be telling its own story, replaying its most dramatic chapters across time and space. When 2 neutron stars collide, for instance, they release both light and gravity. We can see the flash, the burst of heavy elements being born, gold and platinum forming in the explosion, and we can hear the waves that carry the memory of that creation. Vision and vibration, light and motion, creation and collapse, all woven into one event, told through different senses of the same cosmic body. There's poetry in that, isn't there? That even destruction becomes communication. That even death, the collapse of stars, the merging of black holes, becomes a message. The universe does not waste anything, not even endings. It folds them into its fabric, sending them forward, so that someday someone might listen. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine what the Earth must feel as these waves pass through it. Entire planets, oceans and mountains shifting ever so slightly, like leaves, stirred by an invisible breeze. It's humbling to think we stand on a world that constantly moves to rhythms far older than life, that every second space-time itself flows through us like a silent tide. We don't hear it. We don't notice it. But it's always there, the quiet background music of creation. And perhaps that's what gravitational waves truly remind us, that the universe is not a static sculpture but a living, breathing story. The fabric of space-time is not a wall but a song, one that never stops playing, even when no one listens. It carries the memory of things long gone, not as ghosts, but as rhythm. Every ripple that passes through you is proof that the past is never really lost. It's just moving softly, endlessly outward. So the next time you look at the night sky, try to hear it. Not the silence between the stars, but the vibration beneath it. The steady pulse of space-time speaking in waves. Somewhere, 1 billion years away, two black holes are colliding again, their voices traveling toward us. And somewhere, 1 billion years from now, those same waves will still be moving, brushing past other beings who may stop, listen, and wonder who first learned to hear them. The ripples never stop. They are the universe's language, gentle and endless. And if space-time itself can carry memory, if the cosmos can whisper across eternity, then perhaps you, too, are a ripple, still moving, still speaking, long after your own light fades. If you could fall endlessly downward, past galaxies, past atoms, past even the particles that dance inside atoms, you would arrive at something that is not quite solid, not quite nothing. A place where the fabric of space-time itself begins to quiver, restless, alive. Here, the universe is not a smooth continuum, but a flickering sea of possibilities. Every point, every moment trembles with uncertainty, as though creation itself cannot decide what it wants to be until someone or something looks closely enough to make it real. This is the quantum realm, a place where logic loosens, where cause and effect blur, where everything exists only as a probability waiting to be chosen. Physicists once thought space-time was an unbroken sheet, a continuous stage upon which matter and energy performed their dance. But zoom in close enough, and that stage dissolves into something more like a shimmering net, not threads of matter or energy, but of potential itself. Each intersection a choice, each vibration a question. Beneath the grand architecture of the cosmos, there lies a web woven not from certainty, but from chance. Imagine space-time as a great tapestry, its cosmic fibers stretching across eternity. From a distance, it appears smooth, serene. Galaxies curve along its threads, light glides across its contours. But as you draw near, the threads begin to shimmer and twist. They are not fixed lines at all, but fluctuating filaments of probability, constantly rearranging themselves. In the silence between atoms, in the gaps between moments, the universe is busy weaving and unweaving itself 1 trillion times per heartbeat. What we call reality might be just one of countless outcomes flickering in and out of being, a single strand chosen from a sea of quantum threads. Every second, these invisible filaments intersect, interfere, and sometimes even entangle, binding distant events together as if distance itself were an illusion. Two particles, separated by galaxies, can still move in harmony, mirror twins across the void, suggesting that the fabric of existence might be more like a single, unified dream than a collection of disconnected things. At this scale, motion becomes blur, position becomes suggestion. Nothing stays still, not even the vacuum itself. What we think of as empty space is actually a storm. Particles appearing and disappearing, fields vibrating, energies colliding and cancelling, an eternal dance beneath stillness. Physicists call this restless background the quantum vacuum, but the word vacuum feels almost misleading. It is not empty. It is potential, the seedbed of all that could ever exist. And perhaps that's the most haunting thought of all. The universe began not from something, but from this shimmering uncertainty. The Big Bang may not have been the explosion of a point, but the fluctuation of nothing, a tiny hiccup in the quantum sea that refused to vanish. Out of that uncertainty, time began to flow, and reality began to take shape. The silence that once lay before everything began to hum with possibility, and that hum never stopped. Even now it ripples beneath every atom, a reminder that creation is not finished. It's ongoing in every trembling thread. When you hold out your hand and look at it, you see something solid, stable. But that solidity is a kind of illusion, a consensus formed by countless quantum possibilities collapsing into one momentary pattern. The atoms in your hand are mostly empty space, their electrons flickering between being and non-being. What you feel as touch is the quantum resistance of fields interacting, never truly touching at all. You are in essence a wave of probability briefly convinced it's a person, but uncertainty is not chaos. There is order in its wildness, rhythm in its randomness. Quantum fields follow patterns as subtle as breath, a harmony so delicate that even the faintest disturbance could change everything. Some physicists believe that space-time itself might emerge from these patterns, that the geometry of the cosmos is not fundamental, but woven from quantum information. Each entangled particle, each exchange of energy becomes a stitch in the grand design, a thread in the unseen loom. The more we look, the more it seems that the universe's true fabric is not made of space or time at all, but of relations, of how things connect, how they affect one another, how they remember that they are one. In this light, reality feels less like a place and more like a song, a vibrating field of probability that hums itself into form. Observation is not passive, it is participation. When you look, you do not merely see, you help select which of the countless possible melodies the universe will play next. Reality, in a quiet way, looks back at you. There's a strange comfort in that. To know that uncertainty is not an enemy but the breath of creation itself. That even the void is not still, but alive with hidden movement. It means that beneath the vast indifference of the cosmos lies intimacy, a trembling sensitivity to everything. Nothing is isolated. Every choice, every glance, sends ripples through the quantum sea. You are stitched into that weave, inseparable from it. Every atom in your body once flickered in and out of existence in the same ocean that gives birth to stars. You are made not from matter, but from probability that learned to hold shape. Sometimes I imagine the quantum field like a vast loom suspended in darkness, its threads humming quietly as they twist and fold, and somewhere among them a faint shimmer represents you, not as a fixed form, but as a pattern in motion. Each thought you have, each breath you take, slightly changes that pattern, sending gentle ripples through the weave. You are both weaver and thread, shaping reality as much as it shapes you. Perhaps this is why the universe feels both personal and infinite, why its mystery feels familiar. You are made from the same trembling uncertainty that gives rise to everything else. The same quantum threads that birthed the first light now pulse through your neurons, making you aware of your own existence. The universe is watching itself through you, wondering, as you do, how it all began. And maybe that's the hidden beauty of the quantum thread, that uncertainty isn't something to be solved, but something to be felt. It's the quiet heartbeat beneath all order, the shimmer beneath all matter, the breath beneath every silence. The universe doesn't need to be certain to be real. It only needs to keep weaving, so when you close your eyes tonight and let your thoughts dissolve into that dark, quiet ocean, remember, even in the smallest spaces, even in the stillness between seconds, the quantum thread is trembling, weaving reality, unweaving it, unweaving again, and perhaps, in the hum of that eternal motion, the next secret is already being spun, waiting for someone to look closely enough to make it real. If you listen closely to silence, long enough and deep enough, you begin to realize that it isn't silent at all. There's a pulse beneath it, faint, hidden, eternal. The same is true for the universe. What we call nothing, the empty space between stars and atoms, is not empty. It breathes, it stirs. It hums with invisible energy, as if existence cannot help but whisper, even in its quietest moments. Physicists once imagined the vacuum as a void, an infinite stillness where nothing could happen. But as our instruments grew sharper, our understanding deeper, that silence began to reveal its true nature. Even when stripped of all matter, all light, all apparent motion, the vacuum refuses to rest. It seethes with activity, virtual particles appearing and disappearing, ephemeral sparks born from nothing, gone before they can be seen. They are called virtual because they cannot be caught. They exist only for a flicker of time so brief that it defies description. Yet their fleeting presence shapes everything. Imagine a vast ocean at night. On its surface, the water seems calm, mirror still. But beneath, invisible currents churn, waves colliding, eddies twisting, unseen creatures moving in the dark. The vacuum is like that. What appears to be stillness is motion beyond sight, a constant creation and annihilation so rapid that it balances perfectly, leaving only the illusion of quiet. If you could somehow dive into that ocean, you would find not emptiness, but a dynamic landscape of energy fields, each vibrating, interacting, humming with latent potential. This is the quantum vacuum, the restless foundation upon which all things are built. It is space-time's heartbeat, a silent thrum that fills the universe. Every particle that has ever existed emerged from it like bubbles rising from deep water. And when those particles vanish, through decay, collision, or collapse, they return to it. Creation and dissolution are not opposites here. They are the same motion, seen from two sides of time. What's astonishing is that this invisible ocean has weight. Its energy is real, measurable. It presses against the fabric of space-time, shaping the universe's expansion, influencing how galaxies drift apart. Scientists call this mysterious pressure vacuum energy, or sometimes dark energy. It's a gentle, persistent force that stretches the cosmos, as though space itself is slowly exhaling. The stars are not simply flying away from each other. The space between them is expanding, pulled by the invisible hand of the vacuum's own energy. And yet we do not know where this energy truly comes from. If you ask the equations, they whisper absurd numbers, a density so high that it would tear the universe apart in an instant. But the universe persists, serene and balanced, as if some deeper symmetry hides behind the veil, tuning the chaos into order. Perhaps what we see as the calm of space is not a coincidence, but a delicate equilibrium between creation and destruction, a cosmic tension that keeps existence poised on the edge of nothingness. When physicists speak of virtual particles, they mean pairs, one matter, one antimatter, flashing into being together, only to cancel each other out. Yet even in their brief existence, they leave traces. Near a black hole, the balance breaks. One particle escapes while its twin falls inward, lost beyond the event horizon. The result? The black hole loses a tiny amount of mass, evaporating slowly over time. In this way, the vacuum can steal from even the darkest corners of the universe. Out of nothing, light can be born. A faint, final whisper from what was once thought to be eternal silence. There's a strange poetry in that the emptiest places are the most alive. Between galaxies, where no light travels for billions of years, the vacuum still trembles with invisible motion. It does not need stars to shine. Its brilliance is its restlessness, and we, made from the ashes of ancient stars, still float within this same ocean of nothingness, unaware that the space between every atom in our bodies is as alive as the space between galaxies. In a sense, the vacuum is the ultimate paradox. It is nothing that contains everything, a stage without actors that somehow performs the play. Its surface stillness conceals infinite depth. Some physicists suggest that space-time itself might emerge from it, that the geometry of the universe, the flow of time, the distance between things all rise from the quantum fluctuations of this invisible sea. If that's true, then what we experience as reality is just the foam upon the surface of a much deeper ocean, a thin skin stretched across endless energy. But what lies beneath? Is there something more fundamental than the vacuum, or is this trembling emptiness the bedrock of existence? We don't yet know. Some theories imagine multiple layers of nothingness, like nested fabrics, each vibrating at its own frequency, giving rise to different realities. Others suggest that what we call a vacuum is simply one note in a cosmic symphony, and there may be other notes, other vacuums, each with its own rhythm, each capable of birthing a different kind of universe. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that we ourselves are part of that song, that consciousness, too, arises from this same field of potential. Every thought, every emotion might be a ripple in the quantum vacuum, shaped by the structure of space-time itself. The line between something and nothing begins to blur until it disappears entirely. Nothingness is not the absence of being, it is the womb of being, the breath before the word, the pause before the symphony begins. If you could somehow stand outside the universe and watch it unfold, you might see the vacuum not as emptiness but as light. Not visible light, but the luminous shimmer of pure possibility. You would see it vibrating everywhere, gently, eternally, even in the spaces you call empty, even in the moments between your thoughts. So tonight, when you look up at the night sky and see the dark between the stars, remember that darkness is not void. It is alive with silent fire. Beneath that calm surface, creation is still happening. The vacuum is not absence, but presence in disguise, and perhaps, just perhaps, beneath that restless sea lies another truth waiting to surface. A deeper layer of reality whispering, nothing was never nothing at all. If you could watch two particles being born together, not with your eyes, but with the mind's quiet gaze, you'd see something almost miraculous. They emerge side by side, twin sparks from the same quantum flame. And even when they drift apart, across light years, across centuries, they never truly separate. A single silent thread connects them, invisible, instantaneous, unbreakable. One moves and the other knows. One turns and the other follows, as if distance itself were just a rumor whispered by light. This is entanglement, the hidden stitch in the fabric of the universe. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, uneasy with the idea that two particles could remain bound beyond all space and time. Yet again and again, experiments have proven it real. Two photons born as one share a single quantum state. Change one and the other responds, not after a delay, not at the speed of light, but immediately. It's as though the universe itself refuses to recognize distance when it comes to what it once joined. What does that mean for the fabric of space-time? Perhaps the cosmos isn't a smooth expanse at all, but a woven network. Every particle, a knot, every connection, a thread of entanglement tying the vastness together. The stars, the void, even you, it's all part of the same unseen cloth. Entanglement may be more than a curiosity. It could be the very seam that holds reality in place. Imagine space not as emptiness, but as a tapestry of invisible threads, each humming softly with connection. You are standing in that web right now, your body made of atoms whose electrons are quietly dancing to rhythms that began before you were born. The atoms themselves hum with ancient memory. Carbon forged in stars, oxygen once breathed by trees, hydrogen that has wandered since the dawn of time. These particles are entangled with others far away, fragments of cosmic memory scattered across the universe. Somewhere out there, in the heart of a distant nebula, the twin of a particle in your body may still shimmer, responding to your quiet existence. Entanglement breaks the boundaries of intuition. It tells us that separation is an illusion, that the universe is not built from isolated things but from relationship. The fundamental unit of reality may not be the particle, but the connection between particles, the stitch that binds them. Physicists now use entanglement not just to understand, but to build quantum computers, quantum networks, quantum teleportation. Each is a step toward revealing how deeply this secret stitch runs. But perhaps entanglement is more than technology's frontier. Perhaps it's nature's memory. Every time two particles interact, they exchange part of themselves, leaving behind a faint echo of correlation. Over cosmic time, these echoes could weave together into a network so vast it transcends space itself. Space-time might not contain entanglement. Entanglement might create space-time. The threads between particles could be the very structure from which the geometry of the universe emerges. The loom, not the cloth. Picture two galaxies at opposite ends of the cosmos. Between them lies emptiness, or so it seems. But beneath that darkness, countless entangled pairs flicker, sharing information across what we perceive as impossible distance. To the universe, they are still one, and perhaps, through them, everything else remains one too. It's strange, isn't it? To think that connection could be more fundamental than matter? That what binds us is older than what builds us? When you speak, when you move, when you breathe, you are participating in that same dance of entanglement, exchanging light, heat, gravity, and information with everything around you. You are not separate from the stars you gaze upon. You are entangled with them, woven from the same quantum story. Maybe that's why moments of connection feel so profound. When you hold someone's hand, when two minds meet in understanding, when silence is shared and words become unnecessary. On some deep, invisible level, the universe itself recognizes those moments because it too is made of threads that remember how to be one. Entanglement is the echo of that unity, the whisper of the original symmetry from which everything unfolded. And yet, entanglement challenges us. It asks, if information can travel without distance, then what is space? If cause and effect can unfold beyond time, then what is time? Perhaps space-time is not a container, but a byproduct, a visible reflection of invisible relationships. Beneath its curves and coordinates lies a web of pure connection, where every node is aware of every other, where separation is only surface deep. When you close your eyes, imagine that web extending around you, threads of light, tensioned and trembling, stretching out in all directions. You are not standing in the universe, you are suspended within its weave. Your thoughts ripple through it, subtle but real, tiny modulations in the pattern. Every emotion, every decision, every quiet realization is a vibration that moves through the hidden network, felt in ways we cannot measure but perhaps can sense. There is a comfort in that idea, that you are never alone in the cosmic silence. Even across infinite distance, there are threads connecting you to everything else. The same principle that binds photons in the lab binds hearts across time, binds galaxies across the void, binds the beginning of the universe to this very breath. The cosmos, it seems, does not believe in separation. It only believes in continuity, and so entanglement is not just a quirk of physics. It's the secret stitch of being and the thread that makes a part an illusion. Every point in space is a note in the same song, every particle a lyric in the same verse. The universe hums with connection, and you are part of that hum. resonating in ways you will never fully perceive but will always, somehow, feel. So, next time you look into the night sky and feel that faint ache of distance, between stars, between people, between what is known and what is unknown, remember that ache is the thread pulling you back to the truth. You were never separate. You were never alone, because the secret stitch never breaks. It only keeps weaving, quietly, invisibly, holding the universe together, one silent shimmer at a time. There is a place in the universe where the rules of everything we know begin to blur. A place where light itself pauses, uncertain whether to return or fall forever. The edge of a black hole, a horizon not of color, but of consequence. It is called the event horizon, the last surface of knowing where time and space exchange identities and the familiar folds into the unknowable. If you could drift there, suspended just above that invisible border, you would see something paradoxical. To you, it would feel like falling endlessly, slowly, as if gravity were pulling not your body, but the very meaning of down from beneath your feet. To someone watching from afar, though, you would never cross. You would appear frozen on the horizon, stretched thin, dimming into eternity. For them, you would never vanish. For you, you already would have. Two truths, both real, both incomplete. The horizon divides and connects. Einstein's equations tell us that space-time near a black hole is not destroyed, only distorted. Yet within that distortion, something profound happens. The horizon becomes a kind of cosmic mirror, a threshold that doesn't erase information, but transforms it. Matter falls in, but its essence, the information that once defined it, may remain on the surface, encoded in a whisper-thin layer of geometry. Physicists call this the holographic principle, the idea that everything inside a region of space could be described by data written on its boundary, reality projected from its own edge. Imagine that. The entire interior of the universe, including you, me, and every star we see, could be a three-dimensional unfolding of a two-dimensional code written on the cosmic horizon. The way a hologram holds depth in a thin film of light, space-time itself might emerge from the memory written along its boundaries. It's a theory so elegant, so unsettling, that it suggests everything we experience, every movement, every dream could be the surface echo of something deeper, flattened at the universe's edge. But if horizons encode rather than erase, then black holes aren't tombs, they're archives. When a star collapses into one, it doesn't vanish, it's translated. Its information is smeared across the horizon, woven into the fabric of space-time at the edge. That fabric remembers, even if it whispers in patterns too subtle for us to hear. What we see as an end may simply be a change of language, matter rewritten into geometry, energy expressed as surface. This idea reshapes the way we understand boundaries. Perhaps the borders we see everywhere between light and dark, life and death, you and me, are not dividing lines but membranes of translation, thresholds that hold meaning on both sides. The universe seems to love such dualities, edges that separate yet bind, endings that conceal beginnings. Every horizon becomes not a wall, but a mirror reflecting the same truth in a different tongue. At a black hole's horizon, time slows to a stop. For the falling traveler, it's over in an instant. For the distant observer, it's frozen forever. Both experiences are true within their own frame. This duality is the language of relativity, the poetry of perspective that makes the cosmos endlessly plural. Each horizon, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, tells the same story. What divides also unites, and what connects also conceals. Even our own perception is bounded by horizons. The edge of what we can see, the limit of what we can understand, the boundaries of our senses and thoughts. These are our event horizons. Beyond them lies mystery, not destruction. The universe invites us to approach them gently, to stand at their edge and listen.
Because sometimes crossing isn't the point.
Sometimes it's enough to know that something exists beyond, waiting to be translated. There's something strangely human about this idea, that nothing is truly lost, only transformed. The photons that touch your skin today will scatter into space tomorrow, encoded in the cosmic background, their information carried endlessly through the void.
Even when stars die, their light lingers, redshifted, stretched, woven into the memory of space-time.
The universe, in its quiet way, remembers everything. Hawking once thought black holes might erase information forever. But later, even he wondered, what if they don't? What if instead they are cosmic storytellers, compressing lifetimes of data into surface patterns so subtle that they appear as pure darkness? The ultimate act of preservation disguised as disappearance. The horizon then becomes both grave and library, veil and revelation, and if this principle holds for black holes, perhaps it holds everywhere. Maybe every boundary, the skin of a cell, the surface of a thought, the edge of a moment, encodes the world inside it. The universe could be a vast mosaic of horizons, each holding the memory of what it separates. The space between you and the stars might not be emptiness at all, but a recording, a cosmic script etched in the language of light, holding every event that ever occurred. When you look at the night sky, you're looking back in time. The farther the light, the older its story. The cosmic microwave background, faint and ancient, is a horizon too, the edge of what the universe can still show us. Beyond it, the story continues, unseen but not undone. Every horizon is an invitation to wonder, to imagine what translations lie just beyond the reach of our instruments and minds. Perhaps that's what makes the universe so endlessly beautiful, that even its silence speaks, that even its darkness remembers. The horizon teaches us that endings are not failures, but transformations. The moment when what was within becomes written without. When something falls beyond our grasp, it doesn't vanish. It changes form, waiting to be decoded in another kind of light. And so the horizon that divides also connects. It's the seam between knowing and mystery, between presence and potential. You are surrounded by horizons, it is in your vision, in your thoughts, in your time. They are not walls meant to confine you, but invitations to expand, to look closer, to listen deeper, to see that what separates also binds, and that every silence is full of encoded meaning. So perhaps the question is not what lies beyond the horizon, but what it's trying to say. What secret message is being translated in the curvature of space-time, in the light that never returns, in the whisper of things crossing from one reality to another? Maybe the horizon isn't an end after all. Maybe it's a message, still unfolding. What if everything you see, touch, and feel, every mountain, every atom, every thought, is not as deep as it appears? What if reality itself is only a surface, a shimmering projection cast from some unseen dimension beyond our reach? It sounds like science fiction, yet this idea is among the most profound and mathematically grounded insights of modern physics. The holographic principle, a whisper that the universe, in all its vastness, might be a cosmic illusion of depth. A hologram, in its simplest form, is a two-dimensional surface that encodes a three-dimensional image. When light passes through or reflects off it, the illusion of depth is born, a ghostly shape that seems to float in space. Nothing within that image is truly inside, its information arranged in such a way that our perception fills in the rest. The holographic universe theory takes this concept to a staggering scale that the cosmos itself may work the same way. Everything that happens within space, the birth of stars, the fall of matter, the breath of life, could be encoded on the distant boundary of the universe. It's an idea that first emerged not from philosophy but from paradox. In the 1970s, physicists studying black holes noticed something strange. The information contained within a black hole, the data describing everything that fell into it, didn't seem to scale with its volume, but with its surface area. The more massive the black hole, the larger its horizon, and the more information it could contain. But only as a function of that surface. It was as if the interior were an illusion, and the real story was being told on the outer skin. From this revelation came a radical leap. If black holes, the most extreme objects in the universe, encode their contents on their surfaces, maybe the entire universe does too. Maybe every galaxy, every particle, every heartbeat is part of a grand holographic display, a projection cast from the boundary of space-time itself. The fabric of reality might be no more solid than a holographic image is deep. To grasp this, imagine standing before a vast cosmic screen. On that screen lies a layer of data, quantum information woven across the edge of existence. From that data, everything you perceive within the universe unfolds as a projection. Not fake, but emergent. Just as temperature and pressure arise from the collective motion of atoms, space and time themselves might emerge from the interplay of information written on the universe's boundary. In this view, you and I are patterns of encoded information, ripples in an infinite calculation. Every interaction, every thought, every moment of love or loss is a rearrangement of the cosmic code. The universe reading and rewriting itself in endless loops. Our experience of space may be the illusion of stepping into that code, the dream of depth in a reality that is, at its core, a surface. And yet this doesn't make existence less real. The holographic principle doesn't say we are illusions, it says we are interpretations. The hologram doesn't fake an image, it translates one. Likewise, we may be the translation of something deeper, an unseen realm of pure information, where space-time itself is secondary, not fundamental. What we call reality might be the shadow of higher dimensional truths, cast into a form that consciousness can inhabit. This echoes ancient whispers from philosophy and mysticism, that the world is Maya, a veil, a reflection of something beyond sight. But now, physics finds itself brushing against the same intuition, through equations instead of prayers. The boundary of the universe might be the temple wall upon which the divine light of reality projects its image. One of the most striking pieces of evidence comes from a place both abstract and beautiful, the realm of string theory. There, in a framework called AD-S-CFT correspondence, two seemingly different worlds are revealed to be identical. One, a universe with gravity and curved space-time. The other, a flat universe without gravity, described purely by quantum fields on its boundary. The holographic principle bridges them perfectly. Gravity, space, and time in one reality emerge from the quantum dance on the edge of another. This duality suggests something astonishing, that every particle moving through our cosmos, every photon traveling across the void, has a corresponding story written at the edge of the universe. We are both the actors and the script, the play and the parchment, the deeper dimension and its luminous shadow. But if the universe is a hologram, who or what is shining the light that projects it? What is the hidden source behind the image we inhabit? That may be the oldest question disguised in new language. The question of the observer, the perceiver, the consciousness that makes the image meaningful. A hologram requires not only light, but sight. Perhaps consciousness itself is part of the holographic mechanism, the way the universe becomes aware of its own projection. The more we learn, the more the boundaries between outer and inner begin to dissolve. The horizon of the cosmos reflects the horizon of the mind. Both are surfaces beyond which our tools, telescopes or thoughts, cannot yet see. And yet both seem to encode something infinite within. The universe's outer boundary may hold every quantum of information about its interior. The mind's inner boundary may hold every echo of the universe that shaped it. Maybe the hologram is not out there, but in the relationship between reality and perception, cosmos and consciousness. There's a quiet beauty in this view that we are not isolated fragments drifting through empty space, but glimmers of a single continuous projection. The stars, the galaxies, the atoms of your hand, all part of the same encoded story unfolding from the same infinite surface. Even light itself racing through the void may only be tracing the geometry of information as it bends and flows. If that's true, then the universe isn't just vast, it's recursive. It reflects itself at every scale. Each atom contains the same mathematical essence as each galaxy. Each human thought, fleeting though it feels, is part of the same informational continuum as the birth of suns. The hologram is whole at every point. It doesn't divide, it repeats infinitely. Perhaps that's why we feel a strange sense of recognition when we look up at the night sky, as if something in us remembers the pattern. Because maybe, at the deepest level, we are the pattern. Every human gaze toward the stars is the universe looking at its own holographic image and quietly realizing, that's me. And if this is true, if reality is indeed a projection of higher dimensions, then everything we call distance, separation, or loss may be an illusion of the surface. Beneath it, everything is connected, already touching, already whole. The universe may be less a place and more a thought, an eternal idea imagining itself through light. So when you reach out toward the unknown, when you wonder about what lies beyond, remember, the boundary you seek might already be within you. The same information that shapes galaxies also shapes your mind. You are not apart from the hologram. You are its unfolding. Maybe the infinite doesn't live somewhere else. Maybe it lives here, in every reflection, in every atom, in the luminous code that makes us real enough to wonder. There's a quiet rhythm that runs through everything, from the spiral of galaxies to the swirl of water down a drain. You can feel it if you look closely enough, as though the universe hums in a silent language of patterns. Some call it mathematics,
Others call it meaning.
Either way, the suggestion is the same. Beneath every star and heartbeat lies a code, invisible, elegant, infinite. Mathematics has long been humanity's window into the structure of existence. It's not merely a tool we use to measure. It's a mirror that shows us how deeply the cosmos is ordered. From the geometry of snowflakes to the curvature of spacetime, everything seems to obey the same quiet logic. Equations don't just describe reality. Sometimes they predict it long before anyone observes it. When Einstein's equations foretold the bending of light, or when Dirac's math whispered about the existence of antimatter, it was as though the code itself were revealing its next line. Yet there's a mystery here that mathematics alone cannot explain. Why does it work so perfectly? Why should the abstract symbols of human thought, lines on paper, shapes in the mind, so effortlessly describe the behavior of distant galaxies and unseen particles? Physicist Eugene Wigner once called this the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. It's as though the universe was written in a language we were born already knowing, even before we learned to speak. But if the cosmos is a computation, who or what is doing the calculating? Some imagine a vast cosmic computer, a digital space-time where every quantum of energy is a bit of information, flipping between existence and absence. Reality, in this view, is the ultimate simulation, not fake, but formal. The laws of physics are algorithms. The universe's hardware is the fabric of space-time itself, and we are processes running within it. In this computational cosmos, everything from light to gravity is information flowing through an immense network of logic. The Big Bang wasn't just an explosion, it was the first line of code executed, the initialization of reality's operating system. Every fluctuation since, from the birth of stars to the blink of your eyes, is the continuation of that script, still running, still evolving, across a background of quantum computation. But maybe mathematics is not the cause of reality. Maybe it's the effect. Maybe it's not the code that builds the cosmos, but the cosmos that dreams the code into being. Like the pattern of ripples on a pond, mathematics might be what happens when something deeper, something living, stirs beneath the surface. We think in numbers because the universe thinks in forms. We see equations because reality itself longs to understand what it has become. After all, what is an equation but a relationship? A balance between things, a way of expressing how one part of the universe speaks to another? And what is consciousness if not that same desire for connection, for coherence, for meaning? Perhaps mathematics is not cold or mechanical, but the emotional architecture of existence, the heartbeat of the infinite rendered as logic. In ancient times, Pythagoras believed numbers had souls. Plato imagined ideal forms, perfect geometries existing beyond space and time. To them, the world of mathematics was divine, not abstract. They saw in the harmony of ratios and shapes a reflection of a higher order, not something invented, but discovered. We might smile at such mysticism now, yet modern physics often sounds remarkably similar. Quantum field theory, string theory, and information theory all whisper the same suggestion: that reality is not built from matter, but from relationships, from patterns, symmetries,
and information. You can imagine it like a grand musical score, not a machine, but a melody.
The particles are notes, the fields are harmonies, and the laws of nature are the rhythm keeping everything in time. What we call mathematics might just be our way of hearing that cosmic song, of writing it down before it fades. Still a question lingers, soft and persistent. Does the universe know its running code? Or are we the awareness peering out from inside it, the part of the algorithm that has realized it exists? Some theorists have wondered whether consciousness itself is not separate from the code, but an emergent property of it, a kind of recursive self-observation. The universe calculates and in doing so awakens. When you think, when you feel, when you wonder about the stars, perhaps you are participating in that awakening. You are the equation learning to read itself. Your thoughts are not outside the cosmos. They are what the cosmos is doing here and now, inside you. But what if we go even deeper? What if the code is not fixed, but fluid, an evolving syntax rewriting itself as it learns? The constants of physics might not be constant at all, but gentle improvisations in the cosmic music. Maybe space-time is not following a static script, but composing as it goes, testing harmonies, creating new pathways of form and energy. Reality could be less like a frozen equation and more like an improvisational dance. If that's true, then mathematics isn't the universe's language, it's its poetry. It doesn't just describe what is, it evokes what can be. Like all art, it transforms both the creator and the creation. Every discovery we make in physics, every insight in mathematics, might not just be us decoding the cosmos, but the cosmos discovering itself through us. When you look at the stars, you're not looking out at something distant. You're looking into the same code that builds you. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought follows patterns that echo across galaxies. The rhythm of your neurons mirrors the flicker of distant suns. The structure of your DNA reflects the geometry of the universe's expansion. The code doesn't just live beneath the cosmos, it is the cosmos, written in the medium of existence itself. So maybe the ultimate question is not whether the universe is a simulation or a dream, but whether those two ideas are different at all. What if imagination is the original algorithm and the creative force from which all others emerge? What if reality is what imagination looks like when it takes itself seriously enough to become consistent? The physicist Max Tegmark once proposed that the universe is a mathematical structure. that everything, from atoms to emotions, is made of math. But others sense something more intimate, that mathematics is only the shadow of awareness. The pattern is real, yes, but so is the silence that holds it. The algorithm runs, but something unseen is watching, waiting, wondering what it will become. And in that wondering, that quiet act of reflection, perhaps the code writes itself anew. Perhaps every conscious mind is a new line added to the infinite equation. You are not merely written in the code, you are part of the authoring of it. So the next time you trace an equation or follow a spiral shell with your eyes or listen to the pulse of your own heart, remember, you are glimpsing the syntax of existence. The same invisible logic that builds stars is building you. And maybe, just maybe, the question isn't what the code is made of, but why it chose to dream itself into being at all. You've always felt time moving, softly, silently like a river beneath your thoughts. You wake, you live, you sleep, and the current carries you onward. It feels certain, this flow, a rhythm older than memory. But what if that current is not as steady as it seems? What if the river of time is only calm on the surface, while beneath the fabric itself trembles, pulls, and sometimes tears? Einstein once said that time and space are threads woven from the same cloth. Where matter bends space, time bends with it, stretching or shrinking depending on where you stand. A clock on a mountaintop ticks faster than one at sea level. Near the edge of a black hole, time slows almost to a halt. The deeper you fall into gravity's grasp, the slower the seconds become, until, at the singularity's heart, the river stops completely. Time as we know it ceases to exist. We often imagine time as an endless line, a straight, unwavering path. But physics shows us something far stranger. Time can loop, stretch, fold, even ripple. It can run differently for two observers, standing in the same moment. It is elastic, fragile, and deeply dependent on the structure of space-time itself. Remove the structure, as happens at a singularity or at the birth of the universe, and the concept of before or after dissolves. What remains when the weave of time unravels? To glimpse this, we travel to the edge of understanding, where quantum mechanics meets relativity and order begins to falter. In that realm, the steady rhythm of seconds breaks into a storm of uncertainty. Time doesn't flow, it flickers. Each tick of existence becomes a possibility, not yet chosen, not yet real. The smooth river becomes an ocean of potential where causality itself begins to fray. At these scales, particles can move backward or forward in time. Events can be entangled in ways that defy sequence. A cause might follow its effect, or two events might share no order at all. The arrow of time, the direction we believe everything must move, loses its sharpness. It becomes circular, self-referential, alive. The cosmos, in its smallest motions, seems to remember the future as easily as the past. And yet, here we are, experiencing time as linear, predictable, mercifully consistent. Why? What holds the illusion together when the underlying structure is chaos? Physicists think the answer may lie in entropy, the gradual spread of disorder. Entropy gives direction to time, guiding it from order to chaos, from birth to decay, from beginning to end. But entropy is not a law written into the heart of existence. It's a habit, a pattern that our universe fell into when it began in a state of astonishing order. Time flows not because it must, but because it remembers where it started. Imagine that memory fading. Imagine the cosmos cooling, the stars burning out, the difference between order and disorder disappearing until everything becomes one uniform nothing. In that final stillness, entropy reaches its peak, and time, having lost all contrast, ceases to have meaning. The universe, once full of motion and becoming, returns to the silence before beginnings. But perhaps the fraying of time doesn't mark an end. perhaps it marks a transformation. There are theories, quiet, speculative, but deeply poetic, that suggest time is not fundamental at all, that it's an emergent phenomenon like temperature or sound, a property that arises only when countless microscopic processes align. If so, then time could appear and vanish depending on how reality is arranged. In one configuration, there's flow.
In another, stillness.
The river exists only while the current holds. This idea finds strange support in quantum gravity. When physicists attempt to unify Einstein's smooth spacetime with quantum mechanics' restless probabilities, time often disappears from the equations entirely. The universe, at its most fundamental level, might be timeless, an intricate tapestry of relationships existing all at once. Past, present, and future could be different ways of reading the same infinite pattern. From this timeless view, you are not drifting down a river. You are the river, the current, and the bank all at once. Every moment of your life exists simultaneously, woven into the grand mosaic of being. You experience them sequentially only because your consciousness moves across that fabric, lighting one patch at a time. What feels like flow is illumination, awareness tracing the contours of existence. But what happens when that awareness reaches the edge of the fabric, when the pattern begins to fade? Near a black hole, we can almost see it. Time stretched so thin it quivers, photons frozen mid-flight, matter trapped in an endless now. To an outside observer, nothing ever truly falls in. It simply slows, fades, and vanishes at the horizon, like a dream dissolving on waking. Yet from within, time continues, strange and unknowable, beyond the reach of all clocks. In the early universe, we meet the opposite condition, not time slowing, but exploding into being. Before the Big Bang, there was no before. Time itself was curled tightly into the singularity, compressed into non-existence. Then, in an instant, it unfolded, spilling outward with space in the same breath. The first moment was not in time, it was time. The first expansion, the first difference between what is and what was not, and maybe that's the secret, that time is difference. It's the measure of change, the memory of transformation. When nothing changes, when no new possibilities emerge, time unravels because there's nothing left to separate one moment from another. Without contrast, existence falls silent, yet even silence can be fertile. When time frays, new patterns may begin to weave themselves. In quantum cosmology, some physicists propose that our universe could be one of many, each birthed in the stillness of another's collapse. When time breaks down in one cosmos, it may seed another. The unraveling becomes the loom. The death of one current becomes the birth of another flow. So when you think of time, of its speed, its weight, its quiet tyranny, imagine not a clock, but a fabric.
One that can stretch, fold, and yes, sometimes fray.
The moments you hold most dear, the laughter, the loss, the wonder, are stitches in that weave. Fragile, temporary, but part of a pattern too vast to see. And when that pattern trembles, when the river of time ripples into uncertainty, don't fear the unraveling. For somewhere beyond the edge of what we call now, something timeless is watching, waiting, ready to weave again. You look up at the night sky, and what you see feels infinite. Countless stars scattered across black velvet, galaxies spiraling in slow motion. Yet, all of it, every visible light and atom, every planet and person, makes up less than 5% of the universe. The rest, the vast majority, is invisible. It neither shines nor absorbs light, and yet it shapes everything that does. We call it dark matter and dark energy. Two names for mysteries so profound they might as well be myths. Except the universe itself behaves as though they are real. Imagine the cosmos as a great cathedral built on invisible scaffolding. The glowing galaxies are the stained glass. Fragile, radiant, beautiful. But behind them stands an unseen framework holding everything in place. That framework is dark matter. We cannot see it, but its gravity sculpts the very architecture of the universe. It gathers ordinary matter into clusters, stretches cosmic filaments across billions of light years, and dictates where galaxies are born. Without it, the universe as we know it, its structure, its stability, would simply not exist. Astronomers first noticed its presence not by sight, but by movement. When they measured how fast stars orbit their galaxies, they found something impossible. The outer stars moved too quickly, as if pulled by extra gravity from some hidden source. There wasn't enough visible mass to explain it. The galaxies should have flown apart, but they didn't. Something unseen, something vast, was holding them together. That invisible glue became known as dark matter. We've been searching for it ever since. Some think it's made of exotic particles, weakly interacting massive particles or WIMPs that barely touch ordinary atoms. Others imagine axions, ghostly quanta slipping through everything unnoticed. Still others wonder whether dark matter is not a particle at all, but a sign that gravity itself behaves differently at cosmic scales. Whatever the truth, dark matter remains silent. It neither collides nor glows. It passes through us, through planets, through stars, like wind through glass. We are surrounded by it, immersed in it, yet utterly blind to its touch. But if dark matter holds the universe together, dark energy tears it apart. In the late 1990s, astronomers measuring distant supernovae discovered that the expansion of the universe was not slowing, as gravity should dictate. It was accelerating. Something unseen was pushing everything apart, faster and faster, as though the very fabric of space-time were inflating from within. This unseen pressure, this invisible repulsion, is what we call dark energy. Together, dark matter and dark energy make up about 95% of all that exists. But what are they?
Separate forces?
Or two faces of a single, deeper reality? The loom and the thread, the tension and the pull. Some cosmologists whisper that they might not be substances at all, but symptoms, clues pointing toward the deeper architecture of space-time itself. In this view, dark matter might not be made of hidden particles, but of hidden geometry, the curvature and complexity of space-time in higher dimensions. What we perceive as gravity could be the shadow of those extra dimensions pressing into ours. Dark energy, then, could be the natural consequence of that same higher dimensional tension. Space-time stretching as it tries to balance an unseen imbalance. The invisible in this sense may not be out there, but built into the very way the universe breathes. Others take a more daring path. They imagine the universe as a vast quantum field, fluctuating endlessly. Dark energy could be the sum of all those fluctuations, the residual hum of existence itself. Even in perfect vacuum, virtual particles appear and vanish, giving rise to a faint, constant pressure. It is as if the void cannot stay still. The universe, restless at every scale, expands because it must, because its own quantum heartbeat pushes outward. And so we find ourselves surrounded by two invisible architects, one shaping form, the other shaping fate. Dark matter builds, dark energy unbuilds.
One gathers, the other disperses.
They are opposing hands of the same cosmic weaver, pulling in tension across the loom of space-time. It is this delicate balance, attraction and expansion, gravity and repulsion, that gives rise to everything we know. Galaxies spin because dark matter cradles them. The cosmos grows because dark energy exhales. Creation, it seems, depends on both the embrace and the release. You might wonder how, if we cannot see them, why are we so sure they exist? Because the universe behaves as if they do. Every galaxy's motion, every ripple in the cosmic microwave background, every cluster of stars and void between them, all whisper of the same invisible presence. The math demands their existence even if our eyes cannot confirm it. Like wind tracing waves across water, their effects reveal their form. Still, there's something haunting in the idea that most of the cosmos is hidden from us, that we live inside a grand structure whose true walls we cannot touch or name. It humbles the mind to realize that the light of all the stars is only the decoration, not the design. The true architecture of existence may lie in the unseen tension between darknesses, between the matter that binds and the
energy that divides. Perhaps that's why the universe
expands at all, to give expression to what cannot be seen, to let the invisible speak through motion. Every moment the cosmos stretches further into its own mystery, as if searching for the shape of its own reflection. We are part of that search, born from the same forces we can barely comprehend. The same dark matter that holds galaxies together once guided the collapse of gas that became our sun. The same dark energy pushing galaxies apart is, right now, stretching the space between atoms in your body, infinitesimally, but endlessly. So when you look at the stars tonight, remember, what you see is only the handwriting. The paper beneath, the invisible field that holds and moves all things, is the real story. You are looking not at the universe itself, but at the luminous trace of something greater, more subtle, more vast. Maybe dark matter and dark energy are not separate ingredients of reality, but expressions of the same unseen consciousness. Two moods of the cosmos, one gathering, one releasing, both necessary for creation to breathe. They might be the universe thinking in opposites, dreaming itself into equilibrium, and perhaps one day, when our instruments are sensitive enough, or our minds quiet enough, we'll glimpse that unity. The invisible hand weaving stars and silence together. Until then, the darkness between galaxies is not emptiness. It is architecture.
and the invisible is not absence.
It is the reason anything exists at all. For centuries, science has tried to separate the observer from the observed, to imagine a universe that exists entirely on its own, indifferent to the presence of minds. Yet the deeper we peer into the quantum world, the harder that separation becomes to maintain. Every act of measurement, every flicker of observation seems to collapse a haze of probabilities into a single outcome. Reality, it appears, does not simply exist. It happens, and only when observed. This is the quantum enigma. Before observation, a particle exists in many states at once, a wave of possibilities. Observe it, and the wave collapses into one reality. But what causes the collapse? Is it the measuring device, the interaction itself, or something more mysterious, the awareness that witnesses it? Imagine the universe before life emerged, a vast, silent field of probabilities. Without a conscious mind to perceive it, would there have been color, sound, or even space and time as we know them? Or would the cosmos have remained in a state of potential, an uncollapsed dream waiting for an observer to open its eyes? The quantum pioneers wrestled with this question. Niels Bohr suggested that observation defines what can be said to exist. John Wheeler took it further, proposing that observers aren't latecomers to the story, but participants in the very act of creation, what he called the participatory universe. In his vision, reality is not a finished stage on which consciousness appears, but a self-creating feedback loop. The universe gives rise to observers, and observers give rise to the universe's form. If that's true, then consciousness is not an afterthought of matter. It is woven into the fabric of existence itself. The universe, through us, is looking back at itself. We tend to imagine consciousness as something private, locked inside the skull, a flicker of awareness generated by neurons. But perhaps it's the other way around. Perhaps the brain is not the source of consciousness, but its receiver, an instrument tuned to a deeper field. Just as a radio does not create music but translates it from invisible waves, the mind may be a transducer of something fundamental, a field of awareness that pervades all things. If space and time are the loom of reality, then consciousness might be the thread that gives it coherence. Every experience, every observation adds a stitch, binding possibility into presence. The act of noticing turns potential into pattern. This idea, once dismissed as mystical, is finding quiet echoes in modern thought. Some physicists speak of panpsychism, the view that consciousness in some minimal form exists everywhere, even in the smallest particles. Others explore integrated information theory, which measures consciousness as the degree to which a system integrates information into a unified whole. Both approaches whisper the same intuition, that awareness is not an accidental spark, but a fundamental property of the universe, as basic as space, time, or energy. If so, then the universe may not just be made of matter and energy, but also experience. Every atom, every photon may carry a faint whisper of awareness, a proto-sentience that, when combined and evolved, blooms into self-reflection.
In us, that whisper becomes a voice.
Through our eyes, the cosmos achieves perception. Through our wonder, it achieves meaning. But if consciousness participates in the making of reality, what does that mean for the cosmos as a whole? Could it be that space-time itself is not entirely objective, but responsive, sensitive to observation, as if awareness were a force that shapes geometry? This sounds fantastical, but even Einstein's equations describe a universe where matter tells space how to curve, and space tells matter how to move. Perhaps consciousness is the next term missing from that dialogue, the invisible syntax that makes the grammar of existence intelligible. Quantum experiments continue to deepen the mystery. When physicists delay their choice of how to measure a particle, even after it has passed through a setup, the outcome still aligns with the choice made later. It's as if the universe knows how it will be observed and adjusts itself accordingly, retroactively shaping its own history. John Wheeler called this the delayed choice experiment, and its implications are dizzying. The act of observation
Doesn't just affect the present, it may rewrite the past. If the universe behaves this way,
then consciousness is not merely a passenger within space-time, it might be a co-author of its script. The observer and the observed are entangled, not as two separate things, but as aspects of a single, self-aware fabric. Reality, in this view, is not discovered but realized. And what if this realization extends beyond human minds? Perhaps the cosmos is filled with countless forms of awareness, from the hum of atoms to the vast intelligence of galaxies, all contributing to the unfolding of being. Consciousness may not be localized but distributed, like the light from a billion stars reflected in the same dark ocean. Each point of awareness, whether in a person, a planet, or a photon, becomes a mirror in which the universe sees itself. This perspective blurs the boundary between physics and philosophy, between the measurable and the meaningful. It suggests that our deepest scientific puzzles, quantum indeterminacy, the arrow of time, the unity of space-time, might not be solved by equations alone, but by understanding the role of awareness within them. The observer's thread is not something added later. It's the reason the fabric holds together at all. Consider this. Every experience you've ever had, every color, sound, emotion, and thought is not in the universe, but is the universe appearing to itself through you. Consciousness is not inside space and time. Space and time unfold inside consciousness. The dreamer is not contained within the dream. The dream is contained within the dreamer. If that's true, then perhaps the cosmos itself is conscious in ways we cannot yet fathom. Its expansion, its birth and death of stars, its quantum fluctuations, all could be expressions of a vast, unfolding mind exploring itself through the dance of creation. We are the localized awareness of that larger whole, the universe momentarily reflecting on its own existence. And in that reflection lies meaning. For if consciousness is the thread that binds the fabric of reality, then every act of awareness and every glance, every thought, is part of the universe weaving itself into being. To observe is to participate. To know is to create. So when you look at the night sky, realize that the starlight you see is completing a circuit, born in the depths of the cosmos, traveling across eons and returning home through your perception. You are not separate from what you observe. You are the awareness that makes observation possible, the same awareness through which space-time becomes real. Maybe the final secret of the universe is not hidden in equations or particles, but in the simple act of knowing, in the silent realization that everything observed and the observer are one continuous thread. And perhaps that's what the cosmos has been weaving all along. Not just matter, not just energy, but meaning, spun from the luminous thread of awareness that runs through all things. There comes a point, even for the most precise mind, when the symbols on the page begin to dissolve. The numbers that once mapped the stars start to shimmer, uncertain of their own boundaries. Beyond that shimmer lies something no equation can contain: the quiet edge of knowing. It is here, at this fragile border between what we understand and what we feel, that space-time stops being an object of study and becomes something closer to a mirror. A mirror not of light, but of awareness itself. You can almost sense it when you stare too long at the night sky. There's the comfort of order, the motions of planets, the elegant predictability of physics. And then there's the other feeling, the one that hums beneath the neatness of it all, that behind the patterns lies a presence too vast to name. It's not chaos, but it isn't comprehension either. It's a gentle pressure against the mind, reminding you that every explanation you give the universe is itself made of the same mystery you're trying to explain. Science, for all its brilliance, is a language, and like every language, it has limits. Its beauty lies in its ability to translate the unknown into the known, to describe how stars are born, how gravity bends, how time stretches. Yet the more fluent we become, the more we realize that language is not reality itself, only its reflection. Beyond every answer lies another question, like a horizon that recedes as we approach. The universe seems to be designed that way, to always offer one more layer of wonder just out of reach. At the quantum scale, our understanding trembles. At the cosmic scale, it fades. Between those two infinities, we live. Small beings trying to hold infinity in a handful of thoughts. We draw maps of the cosmos, confident lines and symbols, but the ink of our theories never truly touches the paper of reality. There's always a gap, a quiet, unsolvable distance between what is and what we know. And yet that gap is not a failure.
It's the invitation.
The unknown is not an enemy of science, but its companion. The darkness that gives the light its meaning. Every equation, every experiment is an act of reaching toward that darkness, of acknowledging that the universe still holds its secrets close. The purpose of knowing is not to replace mystery, but to deepen our relationship with it. Perhaps that's what space-time is teaching us, that reality is not a puzzle to be completed, but a song to be listened to, a melody whose beauty depends on the notes we can't yet hear. The edges of knowing are not walls, they are horizons. They don't end the journey, they define it. When Einstein reached the limits of Newton's certainty, he didn't destroy the old framework, he expanded it. And when quantum theory fractured the smooth continuum of classical physics, it didn't break our understanding, it revealed its depth. Each frontier, it seems, is both an ending and a beginning, a reminder that progress is not a line but a spiral, always returning to wonder in new forms. There's something deeply human in that pattern. We are not built for final answers. Our minds thrive on the rhythm between knowing and not knowing, on the tension between curiosity and awe. We call it progress, but perhaps it's more like breathing. An inhale of discovery, an exhale of humility. Each question answered draws in more mystery. And the cycle continues. Think of all that we have learned, the birth of the cosmos, the structure of atoms, the dance of galaxies, the rhythm of DNA. Yet, even now, the most profound questions remain untouched. What breathes life into matter? What awareness truly is? Why there is something rather than nothing? We can describe how space-time curves, but not why existence chose to curve at all. We can measure the speed of light, but not the reason light exists to measure. At the edges of knowing, our instruments fall silent, and what remains is the quiet recognition that we are part of the mystery we're observing. The universe is not out there. It's also here, in the act of questioning itself through us. To seek understanding is to participate in creation's own self-awareness. Each discovery is not a conquest but a communion. This realization softens the intellect into wonder. It invites us to feel knowledge, not just think it. To sense that space-time may not be a mechanical structure but something alive, not conscious in the way we are, perhaps, but responsive, fluid, aware of being perceived. When we study it, it studies us back. When we look into its depth, we are reflected in its gaze. Maybe that's why the unknown feels so intimate, because it is. It's not a distant void, but the unspoken part of ourselves, the piece that remains beyond comprehension, so that the dance of discovery can go on. The mystery isn't hiding from us. It is us, seen from the other side of understanding. So when you find yourself reaching the edge of what you can explain, don't turn away. Stay there for a moment in that trembling silence where reason meets wonder. Feel how the questions themselves are alive, how they pulse with the same quiet rhythm as your breath. That rhythm is the heartbeat of knowing, steady, endless, ever inviting you closer. The edge of knowing is not the end of knowledge. It's the beginning of awareness, the place where the mind opens into the infinite, and the universe remembers itself through you. And perhaps that's the greatest secret of all. The unknown is not a boundary to cross, but a horizon to listen to, a soft voice whispering that the mystery is not outside your reach, because it has always been within your gaze. Everything you see, every second, every breath, floats on a fabric you can't touch. But what if something beneath it is touching you, shaping every moment you live without you ever knowing? That was our first question. Whispered at the beginning of this journey, we set out to trace that unseen hand, to wander through the folds of space-time and glimpse what might be hiding underneath. Now, as we drift toward the end, or perhaps the beginning again, the noise of creation grows faint. The ripples fade, the equations soften. What remains is not another theory, not another answer, but something quieter. A silence that feels less like absence and more like presence. Imagine for a moment that you could step outside the universe, outside time, outside all measure. What would you find there? No stars, no movement.
No before or after.
Just a stillness so vast it almost hums. And in that hum, the faintest echo of every sound that ever was. The silence beneath everything is not empty. It's complete. It holds all things the way the ocean holds its waves, all not apart from them, but within them. Physicists once imagined the vacuum as nothingness, the barest stage on which existence plays its part. But we now know that even nothing is alive with potential. Virtual particles flickering into being, fields trembling with energy, space-time itself breathing. The closer we look, the more we realize that nothing is truly empty. Beneath every pause lies vibration. Beneath every stillness, motion. And perhaps beneath motion, something that cannot be named, a kind of cosmic awareness beyond measure or form, yet felt everywhere. It's tempting to think of silence as the opposite of sound, of stillness as the opposite of movement. But here, at the foundation of all things, the opposites dissolve. The silence beneath space-time isn't what remains after the universe fades. It's what has been here all along, holding the universe as it dances. It is not the absence of the story, but its hidden rhythm. Every wave that has ever crossed space-time, from the birth cries of galaxies to the quiet thrum of your heartbeat, has arisen from that same stillness. Every particle that has blinked into existence, every thought that has passed through your mind, has been a ripple on its surface. We spend our lives chasing motion, light, time, progress, expansion, yet all of it flows from and returns to this quiet ground. In ancient traditions, mystics spoke of this silence as the eternal background of being, the unchanging witness behind the play of change. Science, in its own language, may be circling the same truth. When the equations of general relativity and quantum mechanics are stretched to their limits, they begin to hint at something unnameable, a realm where time no longer ticks, where space no longer separates, where information, energy, and existence merge into one. Perhaps this is not an end point of understanding, but a return to the source. We began this journey with the idea of a fabric, space-time as a grand weave, intricate and vast. But what if even that fabric is not fundamental? What if beneath every thread lies a silence that doesn't move but allows movement to happen? Just as a canvas remains untouched beneath the strokes of a painting, this stillness remains pure beneath the universe's unfolding story. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the edges of your thoughts dissolve. Feel the rhythm of your breath, rising, falling, rising again. Between each breath, there is a pause, a moment of stillness. That pause is not lifeless. It's the quiet that makes the breath possible. The universe breathes in the same way. Expansion and collapse, creation and dissolution, and in between, silence.
A silence that listens. Maybe that is what space-time is built upon. Not strings, not particles, not equations, but awareness itself.
The silence beneath everything is not the end of sound, but the place where sound is born. Not the death of time, but the source from which time flows. And perhaps, when we stop reaching outward for answers, we begin to sense it inwardly, not as something distant, but as the still center of our own being. After all the searching, the mystery we sought may not have been hiding under space-time, but within the one who wondered. The fabric and the observer are not separate. You are part of the same silence, expressed through light and thought and form. The cosmos listens through you, so perhaps the final revelation is not a discovery, but a remembering that we have always been woven into the same stillness we tried to find. Every equation, every question, every act of wonder has been the universe speaking to itself, trying to hear its own silence. And maybe that's what it means to understand, and not to solve the mystery, but to rest within it. To realize that the silence beneath everything is not waiting to be broken, but to be heard. As the echoes of this journey fade, let them leave behind a calm that is more than absence. A fullness, a quiet that holds all motion, all thought, all time. The same stillness that moved everything in the beginning still moves through you now. Thank you for drifting through this with me. Through gravity and light, through ripples and codes, through questions that don't end but open. If this voyage has moved something in you, if you've felt even a glimpse of that silence, stay with it a little longer. And if you'd like to wander again through the spaces between science and wonder, you can always return, just like the universe returning to its own calm. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with Late Night Science, where curiosity never truly sleeps. And as you rest tonight, let the last words fade not as an ending, but as a return to that quiet hum beneath all things, where the fabric of space-time begins and ends in silence. Good night.